these teams, it gets fascinating to watch it play out because you know that in all likelihood, those places are going to see something of a lost year in recruiting. And Florida State has a chance to take advantage of that. That's the good news as we start the show today. The bad news is obviously we just lost to the University of Florida, and that is infinitely frustrating. But I do think that as we evaluate the season, you never say 5-7 is okay, but you also don't refuse to acknowledge from whence it came and where we had to go from to where we ended and where we think this has a chance to end up going into next season. Norvell is a very busy man right now. There are kids he has to visit, important players, opportunities in the transfer portal. Obviously, you got to go visit. I got to go visit recruits. I mean, it is a heady time and really a fun time. Like if you're a year-round connected to college football, love it. Eat, breathe, sleep, college football, always kind of, even when you're in the throes of whatever other season you're talking about, whether it's college basketball, the NHL, the NBA, the NFL, whatever it might be, you're one of those people, in all likelihood, if you're listening to this, and certainly as it pertains to Florida State, I think this is true, you're one of those people that always, you got your eye on what's happening with college football, because there's always something happening with college football, and you're especially, I think, clued in now more than you were certainly at the end of last year's COVID season, more than you were at the tail end of the mess that was the university deciding to fire Willie Taggart and move on, all that stuff. Like now it's okay. I think we got a glimmer of hope. That's what this season would be coined as or phrased as, a glimmer of hope. There are problems. There are things to overcome. There are a lot of areas of weakness. True. But we saw, I think to some degree, what they were capable of in flipping the culture, getting the kind of commitment day in, day out to doing things the right way. You hear Norvell talk about that a lot, right? And the need to see that day in and day out, week in and week out, game in and game out, even when they're down in the dumps, when they're getting beaten. It happened in this game. By rights, and now we'll get into the assessment of this game. By rights, I think Florida State could have lost by 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game as the way that it played. Clearly Florida, and I hate to admit this, the effect of the little pregame skirmish, for lack of a better term, nobody threw hands, but you saw what I'm talking about. Between the way that the chippiness was on display from snap one to how physical Florida was and their overall physicality, which is greater than that of Florida State because they have the means by which to do that. They have better players is what I'm getting at. That was obvious too. There's a physical difference between the two teams. You realize that, golly, that's where we still have to get to. It tells you that Florida was in the kind of disarray that they were in to have the record that they did with those players, because that's a good offensive line. Anthony Richardson should have been developed more through the course of the year by now. He's a physical freak. Now he's got some ways to go as a passer, but he's hit and miss on that, but he is a freak. They have bigger, thicker running backs. They are better off I think better off in terms of depth on the defensive front. To me, that Florida team should be a lot better. That's why they fired their coach. That's why they're bringing in Billy Napier. They're an example of where we got to get to and where we once were physically. Got to bring in better players.
Yeah, imagine you had a guy like Gamble here with this offense, the way it wants to feature an H-back.
Correct.
Like that's the hard part is, all at once, you're correct. In the trenches, it was clear early. You're like, oh boy. First of all, they care. Second of all, they're better.
Those two things happened. It scared me to death in the first 5 minutes of the game, Tom. I almost texted you, but then I thought that'd get annoying because we're trying to lock in. I thought, damn it, they care. They're locked in. And by the way, they're physically better in the trenches. Damn it.
Right. And the caring part was always the key. That was the key to the handicapping of the game. That was the key. And also the idea being, if you get out in front, will they still care? Are they all bark and no bite? We never put them in that position.
No, because we get hurt right off the bat, because we get blown past off the edges. And you and I talked before the game in our chat that I was really worried about their ends, that I didn't think we could block their ends.
Right. So what's frustrating, though, on top of all that is if you played smarter, you might be in a position to win that football game, despite all those disadvantages that we have. And that was the part that left me with a little bit of a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm looking at the bigger picture as the game is over, because of 0-4 and what we've done since then, and the stability that we're going to be able to show in state to recruits right now.
Yeah, right now.
Because the signing period is 2 weeks away. I mean, that's crazy we are on the brink of finalizing a class. If it was going all the way to February, I'd be worried more. But I'm thankful that we can end a lot of these recruiting sagas
right now,
just over 2 weeks' time.
Yes, let's get to it.
But the thing that left a bittersweet taste in my mouth, the bitter part of it was, I thought we were going to be the more composed group. I thought you could bank on that, like literally bank on the fact that we'd be the more composed team. We weren't. No, that was shocking.
Still have a ways to go physically, emotionally. They passed a lot of tests this year emotionally, not this one. They failed this one. This was a failed endeavor. I'm not saying that the overall progress is something to be ignored, but in this game, they failed that test. They reacted to the chippiness. They fell into the trap that Florida set before the game and during the game. And that is really maddening because they had shown that they were capable of going beyond that time and again. But that's what an in-state rivalry can do. That's where knowing guys, where pride kicks in, where all that bowing up. I mean, this is a game of machismo. It is. It's testosterone laden. It's football, baby.
But it's for the staff. When we go down to Miami next year, tighten that up. You got to tighten that up.
Yeah.
You can't let that happen.
Yeah. Well, I agree. They failed that part. But yeah, again, when you saw early on that we were not going to get a pass rush, now Emory Jones stinks, and we've said that week in and week out. Thankfully, he does. Because if he didn't, this is a lopsided affair. He had time to throw. We could not get to him, even with that front four that's been so good. Yeah. No, they had plays available. And they started the wrong guy at quarterback. And, that helped. That helped. But when I saw that window where I realized we're not going to get home, that's a problem. And then when I saw we physically couldn't block them, you could have turned the TV off. I mean, you really could have. I mean, we do this all the time. I'm glad I didn't. I wanted to see how we'd fight. I wanted to see what kind of – and listen, when in 5 minutes, when you recognize that you can't block them and you're not going to get home and then your quarterback's hurt, you can call it a day. I mean, it was about to be – so like you said, the fact that it was still a game at halftime, a game even to some degree in the fourth quarter, although – at 24-7, for all intents and purposes, this was over.
Well, at 10 points with 5 minutes to go, I'd probably go for it on my own 18. I don't care where it is in the field on the 4th and 9. You need 2 scores.
Yeah.
I was disappointed by that decision too. If we're going to go for it in situations that aren't as desperate and you got back to 4th and 9 there, you're telling me you think Jordan's hurt in the moment. That's probably the only reason you punt. 5 minutes to go.
I think that's probably what his answer would be there.
Yeah, it better be, because if it's any other answer, you're like, what are you doing? We got to find some consistency in when we choose and pick our spots.
Yeah, but I'm going to fix some other stuff before I worry about that, because I'll tell you what, that's a lot of that's desperation stuff. And I agree with you. I understand. You've got to – it gets complicated when we talk about Jordan Travis. It really does get very complicated. I would bring in another quarterback to fight for the job there, and maybe Jordan Travis just continues to move ahead and play better and better and better, and he makes it a null and void discussion. It's his job, and he wins it. And you continue to build your offense around his skill set. Maybe that happens, but he is so injury prone. The first time he gets hit in this game, like, really? Okay, again, this is going to happen again? Are we always going to have to worry about this shoulder dangling down to your knee? I mean, for the rest of his life, if he falls down some steps or something, are we always going to have this issue? Because it's so it's not me ripping the kid. It sounds like it. I don't mean it to be. I'm talking about dependability. I'm talking about knowing that I can trust something. Now, freak accidents happen. Freak injuries happen. You can get your knee blown out and you could be the healthiest kid in the world. I'm not saying that. But that is a reoccurring injury, by the way. That's the same one that happens all the time with him, with the shoulder.
Yeah, no, the simple answer is yes, you're always going to have to worry. Before any game, it has to be a talking point, or at least in the back of your mind, until his career is over. Unless we go through a full season next year and he's the starter and nothing happens. But it would probably take about 12 consecutive games before it exits my mind. And to your point, and where I agree, here's where it's easy. Jordan is developing. He has gotten better.
Yes,
he continues to get better.
Mm-hmm.
You actually can throw the football with Jordan a little bit. All right, nice. Get some weapons and let's see how much you can. That'll be nice. Get some offensive linemen in here, block it up, and we'll see what more he could turn into. That is one development that you could put in a bubble, set aside. The second development is we can't be ass when he's hurt. We can't be less than anything when he's hurt. You've got to have a second solution. It would be irresponsible to not bring in somebody other than A.J. Duffy to give you a fighting chance if his shoulder is dangling after a drive. You have to.
Yeah, you do. And I don't know why. I get that you were probably screwed either way, but I have no idea why they rolled McKenzie Milton out there. I just can't fathom why they did that. He 100% can't play. You would have been much better off putting Rodemaker out there. They did. He looked better than McKenzie Milton.
Right. Yeah. Penalty short-circuited that.
I'm not real sure that he would have gone on to have a good game or not, but at least he's physically capable. We fall off a cliff. So you owe it to the other players.
Absolutely,
you owe it to everybody else on this team to bring somebody else in to compete, and at the very least, to be a viable backup if somebody goes down, if Jordan Travis gets hurt.
Right. You can't be worried about Jordan Travis' sensibilities, to the idea of a transfer, to the point that you don't give yourself a fighting chance if the kid's not available for at least a drive or two. And you have to plan for that. That's where I think there's no emotion tied to it. There's no referendum tied to it. It's just
there's no agenda to it.
The blood and guts of it is you need to be prepared to be without him for a given drive once a game. If you're not, then you're not doing your job properly. Now, he's made it through some games start to finish, and that's great. But when it's a coin flip, that's going to happen, and that's pretty much where we are at this point in his career. It's a coin flip that he might not be 100% for a drive, and maybe he needs to be outright sitting for a drive or two. Yeah, man, you've got to plan against that. That's your job.
So I think it'll be interesting to see if they do that. It'll be interesting to see what they're able to tap into in the portal, because they're terrible at wide receiver. They may have 47 guys on the roster that play tight end. I've yet to see any of them that play consistently well. Now, maybe our boy Jackson West emerges into a player. Maybe.
He tried to take, or I don't know if he did, but he tried to take an unsportsmanlike penalty along with half the roster.
Yeah. So you got to find a tight end, especially since your offense, if you ever do run your offense, is really heavily reliant on one of those guys. You got to find a couple transfer portal offensive linemen to come in and play right now. You got physically manhandled up front. You really did. It was blatantly obvious. So you got problems there still. And then we've talked at length about what you're losing on that defensive front. It's the juxtaposition of feeling buoyed by the season 5-7, as it were, and also the stark realization of all that you have to replace in order to either replicate or take the step forward, because replicating is not going to be acceptable. 5-7 will not be acceptable next year. So you're going to have to get to a place where you take a step forward. Even if it's 7-5, you're going to have to show me that progress. In order for that to happen, you got a lot of things to work on here in this offseason, and it involves personnel first and foremost.
Yeah, and then this is just a bizarre time, because you've got some kids that were down to maybe us and Alabama and Oklahoma, and that's completely on its head now with Lincoln Riley to USC. LSU, what answers do they have? We running a couple of kids there. Napier to Florida. Does that mean some kids are going to outright decommit? What's Miami's plan? I mean, you have so many variables that are happening right now that can lead to two things. Our brains automatically go to recruiting, but the transfer portal is real. It's as real as it's ever been.
We just saw.
And but anytime there's a coaching change, it doesn't mean that a kid might enter his name in the transfer portal Oklahoma and follow Lincoln to USC. They might just go somewhere else outright. So you've got to have a staff, and I know we do, and you've got to have a method, an organization method of, hey, the moment that this kid goes in the portal, you call me. I'm on a plane. I'm in Las Vegas right now talking to this recruit, but we've got to be able to make sure that we contact him within the first 10 minutes. If I don't FaceTime him, he's not going to put us in his final three. I mean, your head has to be spinning in so many different directions.
Well, this is where organization really helps, and this is where they've been really good about this. They've contacted these kids immediately. Every one of the transfer portal kids that succeeded that came here this last year have told the same story, that they were contacted within seconds of their name going in that portal, and that Norvell was the first or second guy they heard from. So that has been the norm here. That's something that you can fall back on and feel good about.
Right, but now he's doing in-home visits and flying all over the country because he's allowed to. It's no longer a virtual dead period where you can sit at your computer and just rifle off 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
You have to be so prepared for anything. I mean, LSU could make a hire at any point here soon. Miami could make a change at any point here soon. Oklahoma could, hone in on 2 or 3 candidates, and maybe that affects some kids that are committed elsewhere because it's a coordinator or a head coach at a different Power 5 institution. I mean, you've got to be prepared for so many variables. It's an impossible thing to cover. It's a more impossible thing to coach through, but at least we have guys like you're saying, at least we have an organization head to toe that's as ready for this as possible. But, I mean, this is unbelievable. The Lincoln Riley news creates so many new dominoes that we didn't see coming that between now and the early signing day, Jesus, anything can happen.
It's amazing to watch. College football is crazy. It's one of the reasons we love it, but it is worrisome. You just think like, okay, I got a handle on this. Oh, wait, they made that hire. Well, that's good. Nah, that'll fail. You don't really know. The Lincoln Riley thing is weird. I would really love to be a fly on the wall to see what happened there. I think this might be as simple as restarting the clock. Now, he had overwhelming success at Oklahoma. If you look at the record, there's by any definition, he was successful. Very successful. But, okay, I don't know. There are a million factors why you would choose, let's say, to leave Oklahoma and not go to the SEC and go instead to the Pac-12 where the path to the playoff is easier. You get to live in Los Angeles, first of all, and he'll live in a nice part of Los Angeles. He won't be struggling on the 405. He'll be okay, right? So you get gobs of money. You get to go to L.A. and you pick your quarterbacks, right, of which all have been escaping California for years. Clemson, they go all over the place, right? So I could see it. I mean, that's an answer. I get it. Starting over, maybe you're growing a little frustrated. You take your defensive coordinator with you and you ride on down the road. I don't know. It seems like it was obvious for him to say no to LSU and stay at Oklahoma, but I never saw USC coming out of left field there. That was very interesting.
Yeah, do you think he chuckled to himself when he was asked about LSU in the postgame?
I'm sure he was relieved.
I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU.
Yeah. You'll definitely see I'm not going there. So, at that point, he's like, screw it. Now, I would think, while we're having fun looking around the landscape, LSU fans have got to be looking 2 fingers to my eyes, 2 fingers back to you, to Scott Woodward right now. Like, hey, man, everybody we would have wanted is off the table. Franklin re-signed at Penn State. Mel Tucker got $90 million to stay at Michigan State. Lincoln Riley, who we were rumored to be whispering to, and he just basically thumbed his nose at us and took the USC job. Now he's off the list. Billy Napier, who was in the state and can recruit within the state. Maybe you look down on him because he wasn't a Power 5 coach. I don't know what the answer is, why they didn't reach out to him. But he takes the Florida job. It's a good move for Florida, in my opinion. Like, who are you bringing in? I suppose the answer now would be Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, Lane's phone is going to be ringing for, I would think, the job of Coral Gables. But they've got to find an athletic director first, and then the LSU gig. Aranda is going to stick around in Baylor. And that's interesting because the USC opening was there and so is the LSU, and you could tie him to both of those universities. And you would think those jobs are better, obviously, given what Baylor's about to be in, which is the Big 12 without Oklahoma and Texas. And he said no. Yeah. And you just beat Jimbo. So if you had any pipe dream about that, do you really – those aren't great optics.
I want to read you a quote. I pulled this up today and put it in my notes because I wanted to go back and see very specifically what he said when he was asked about LSU countless times here at Florida State.
Oh, Jimbo?
Yeah. Okay, here you go. So here's what he said at Florida State. There is no doubt I do have one of the best jobs in America. This is a tremendous place. The Florida State people have been wonderful to me and my family. It's a great place to live, a great place to coach. We've got great players, great tradition, and incredible history. This is a tremendous job and a heck of a place. I love it here, quote, unquote, right? Now, about the LSU job, him at Texas A&M. It's one of the best places in America. Oh, sorry. I coached there at LSU. It was a great place. We won a national championship. It was one of the best places in America. It's a wonderful place. I love being at Texas A&M, though, and I plan on being at A&M and fully and fulfill my contract. I love everything about this place. Let me tell you something. The way this place has embraced me and my family, including our foundation, the things that are going on with our foundation, the way people have embraced it, the way people have done everything here in College Station. I love everything about the people here, the administration here, and everybody who's been involved with me here. Very, very similar quotes.
Yeah, the price just keeps going up. That's the thing. You're going to have to make Jimbo say no to $12 million a year, $13 million a year, $14. You know what I mean? Like, until he says, stop it. That's what it would take. That's what it would take. If I'm LSU at this point, the question will be, who overpaid more, buddy? Was it the Mets for Max Scherzer, or was it LSU for Jimbo Fisher? That can be the debate maybe in a couple of days.
By the way, lost in all this was A&M lost again.
That's what I'm saying. That's what with him. It's like, that's bad optics. Edo just beat you again.
I'm fascinated. The musical chairs in the world of college football. We will look directly. Now, obviously, we know what Florida State has to get done. It has to improve the roster immensely, both through recruiting and obviously the transfer portal. So that's next up for Florida State. I don't know that you're going to see some changes. You might see a coach or two move on. I don't know. Nothing earth-shattering. I don't think it'll be one of the coordinators or anything like that, meaning offensive or defensive. But as far as like what happens around us in the changing landscape and how that affects everything, Billy Napier to Florida is something we're going to have to address here, and we will in a second. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Home is where your memories live, where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Florida Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 75 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
Clean, renewable energy means fresher air, healthier residents, new green jobs, and a stronger, more resilient community. How we get there is up to you. Share your input today to help shape the Tallahassee of tomorrow. Take the Clean Energy Survey at talgov.com.
Hey guys, it's Greg Tish here. If you know me, you know how much I love to grill, smoke, and cook outside. With the holidays just right around the corner and the cooler weather, there's nothing better than a backyard fire pit or a custom outdoor kitchen. But where do you start? Well, you start at Hearth and Patio of Tallahassee. They have everything for gas grilling, charcoal, standalone grills, built-ins, custom kitchens, unique high-end fire pits, and you can even build your own pizza oven. And don't forget about maintaining your indoor fireplace. If it hasn't been used in a while, it's a good idea to have Hearth and Patio come take a look at it to make sure it's safe to use. Or you can replace the whole thing and transform the look and style of your room. If it has anything to do with fire, you need to call Hearth and Patio. Write this number down. It's 727-4282. That's 727-4282. Or you can always check out their website to view all their products and services at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
Applications, onboarding, payroll, termination. Business owners and managers, you know these are the processes that take away too much time from what you do best. But what if there was a locally owned, responsive solution that would charge you a fraction of the big national payroll companies? Sound too good to be true? It's not. North Florida Payroll Services is Tallahassee owned for nearly 15 years. And in that time, their prices have never changed. The reason North Florida Payroll Services can do that? Exceptional customer service that constantly evolves with the latest technology. From application to termination, for turnkey service for your payroll and HR services, trust a Tallahassee expert and save yourself time and money. North Florida Payroll Services. Online at northfloridapayroll.com.
This is Dr. James Ryan Finn from Finn Chiropractic, and the holiday insanity is upon us. It's Halloween, it's Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, and oh my gosh, Valentine's Day is around the corner. Well, don't wait to Valentine's Day to give yourself some love. Come to Finn Chiropractic. Let us get to the cause of your headaches, neck pain, back pain, numbness, and tingling before the holiday insanity takes its toll. Contact us at finnchiro.com. That's FENNCHIRO.com, because your chiropractor loves you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Warchant TV. Some roofing companies say they're the best in town with the best price around. Safety is their top priority, but they don't always have your best interest at heart. At T-Spark Enterprises Roofing and Construction, they believe in doing things the right way, the safe way. Employees undergo regular safety training and are constantly being educated on a new technique and new materials like becoming master metal applicators. Yay. Love that line. Have you considered a new metal roof before? Long-lasting and durable. You're in luck because T-Spark Enterprises Roofing and Construction are the best in town, period. Call them today, 766-1340. Get a free quote today at tsparkconstruction.com. Yeah, forgive me for not lingering in the aftermath of a disappointing loss to conclude the season, because in my eyes, the transformation, the fight, the culture shift, the change in the locker room had already been accomplished. It's not that I'm not angry about the loss or frustrated by it, but it played out in such an obvious way. And what I mean is not pregame. We didn't say that we thought we would lose that game. We said, I'm not sure Florida wants to play the game. Well, Florida made it abundantly clear they wanted to play the game. And at that point, the other thing that became clear, unfortunately, was just how far behind the eight ball we are physically. And it reminded me of when we were going through the last transformation. Now, we were further along than we are currently, but set of circumstances were very different. But I remember the Oklahoma game in Norman, being down on the field and seeing Oklahoma's players are going, oh, no, on the hoof. This ain't good. And we were told, Ira joined us, and Corey brought it up too, that pregame for the Florida State people that were there in attendance covering the game, that when they were down on the field, they went, this ain't good. This ain't good. That is always a weird feeling. I've seen it happen before. We've all been there. I remember, obviously, in the glory days, it would often happen to our opponents, where if you were down on the field before the game, you'd look at Florida State's players, and then you'd look at anybody else, and you'd go, ooh, unless we turn the ball over, you guys are going to have some problems today, because it was a physical mismatch. And Florida State still is in a position right now where against certain teams, they are in a physical mismatch. Now, I need to see that change quickly. That is an area that has concerned me for a while. We were steady going the wrong way. That's what happens when your classes get blown up and you have to settle. So the clay that you're molding is not, it doesn't come as malleable as you'd like it to be, perhaps. That has to change rapidly, because you really can't compete in certain contests if that's the case, right? And I think you see, and yet they did find a way. But a lot of tricks, a lot of angles, a lot of we're going to make do. We're going to have to play this way because we can't play any other way. So when you see people constantly saying things like, well, you got to make more adjustments. Well, they can't really adjust too much. They can only play a certain way right now for a lot of reasons. And I keep bringing this up and it bothers people. They can only play a certain way, partially because of the quarterback. They can only play a certain way, partially because the offensive line can't block up a drop-back pass game. They can only play a certain way because they don't have receivers that get separation. They can only play a certain way because they don't have a tight end that can play. They can only play. So that's problematic. We've got to get beyond that next. How quickly they can get there, I'm not certain. That's why I would not predict next year is going to be some eureka moment. I think they'll be better, but I don't think they'll be appreciably better. I think they're a 7-5 type team going into next year.
Yeah, you got to take a look, too, on there's the accounts payable and the accounts receivable department in any organization, right? And we got to take a look and see what players are saying that they're leaving the program now that we're done with football, because this is when you can start to add slots to your 25. Mm-hmm. That's an important rule, and it's an important time to have a refresher on that. This year, the NCAA has allowed for 7 more spots, incoming players,
yes,
because there are so many players in the transfer portal, and they're trying to account for that and say, all right, how do we course correct here? Because we just have this new rule where it's one time you could go wherever the hell you want, no restrictions, don't need to sit down. So how do we counterbalance that? All right, we'll add 7 more spots to the class, but you could only start counting up to those 7 if you have players that transfer after the season is over. So now is when you need to look at FSU's roster and say, is anybody announcing? Anybody taking their notes app on their iPhone and tweeting, respect my decision, Noel forever or whatever, and they're moving on? Because I want to take more than 7 guys out of the transfer portal. That's the quickest way to make an impact next year, is for those guys. Travis Hunter is going to help this football team next year, but not all 20-plus recruits are.
Right.
You'll be lucky if 5 of them do.
Yeah.
We'll be lucky if 5 of them are reasonably ready to play right away at big-time levels against the Clemsons and the Floridas of the world and the LSUs next year. You'll be lucky if it's more than 5. So you want as many transfer slots as you can have to get to that 32 number with maybe 10 transfers, 11 transfers. That's what it's going to take to account for the guys we're losing this year, because guess what? Our two best players are gone off the defensive line, and you've got to be able to replace them, not with the guys we have on the roster, but probably with an immediate impact player or two.
Yeah, Malcolm Ray made strides this year. He's played better. He's going to help you. But you're right. Outside of the roster is where you're going to look to find an answer there. I love that right off the bat, Michael Langston, Warchant.com, reporting that we're out there on 2 offensive linemen, transfer portal types, a Wisconsin offensive lineman at that. I'm always going to say good things. Hey, listen, you saw just how desperate we were. We took a kid that wasn't going to play it down this year for Notre Dame, and he instantly became one of our most important offensive linemen. So that tells you where we're at. And my guess is that if you could get a Wisconsin kid in here, he'd probably be one of your best offensive linemen right off the bat. So go grab you 2 or 3 of those to go along with the group that you're signing, to go along with the progress that you're going to get out of the kids that are already on the roster, which could be very well significant. I mean, it has to be. They got to get better. Williams has got to get stronger, a lot stronger. At the end of the year, he got manhandled several times. I hope that we didn't see regression from Scott because of injury, but he wasn't good.
You're talking about Darius Washington? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I said Washington's got to get bigger and stronger,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think, well, let's, what did I say? Williams?
That's good.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm just talking fast. But I think Scott regressed as the year went on. That could just be that he was too injured to be able to work out consistently.
We got to get better on that speed rush.
They just run right past him every
That's
time.
correct.
I mean, yeah. But again, when you thrust kids into positions of having to start before they're ready, before they're big enough, strong enough, experienced enough, especially in the trenches, then you pay a dear price against the better teams, period. That's just the way it looked to me every time we faced a team that had grown-ass men in the trenches. And we're not there yet. Now, you'll make strides just because they're going to get older, bigger, stronger. They got a ton of experience this year.
Yeah, Schrader, Herring, too. They like both of those kids. We'll see what they can do in the spring.
Yeah, we will. Transfer portal, baby. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to need a kid who's a bona fide grown-ass man who has started games in big-time college football to come in here and anchor a couple of spots on this line. That's how you avoid a huge setback, is you get a guy that is ready to go now, walks on campus. The way that you brought in Jermaine Johnson, who walked through the door and became your best player the second he did. That dude changed your season outlook. This would have been a disastrous season if that dude hadn't come over. Same with Kier Thomas. You can go on down the line. They have got to find 4 or 5 difference makers in the trenches today, preferably in an hour. I'd like to hear about these kids coming in an hour. Let's go. Because that is how you can avoid the, for lack of a better term, sort of standing in place, running in place type season that's on the horizon.
The threat for attrition and damage from attrition is great right now. I mean, it's pretty much critical for your defensive line. Now, you could be better at the second level and the third level if you get a couple of commits here.
Linebackers. Yeah.
Right. And we like what the secondary did for the back half of the season. You can outright replace a few of those guys with the recruits you have coming in. It's easier to play as a freshman in the secondary than it is certainly at the defensive line or at linebacker. But, being better in the secondary next year is only going to account for so much. You could be losing 4 of your defensive linemen. You could.
Well, you really could.
Lovett and Cooper could both go. They could.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. So before we went to break, and we got to take another one here in a second, I mentioned that I didn't think you'd see much change in the way of the staff. Like they want to try to keep continuity.
Yeah, I would think so.
And they, for the most part, certainly proved enough in the second half of the season that maybe they wouldn't need to make change. Maybe linebacker coach?
Maybe. They're in on it. We'll see what the next couple of weeks do in terms of signings.
Because
didn't Deloach get better this year?
Deloach got better. I'm talking about in recruiting. They better get some answers here. That group that's verbal, they've got one, right?
A couple of others right there.
Gonna need those guys as well. Yeah.
A little convincing needs to be done.
That has to happen, because otherwise I'm like, hey, man, what are we doing? We're kind of average out here coaching, and you're not exactly bringing them in. We'll need you to get it going. That conversation will have had to have happened.
Transfer wouldn't hurt in that particular position.
Buddy, like 3 of them. I mean, it's raining transfers around here. Let's go. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Tallahassee International Airport is getting a boost at the end of the year with more than 100,000 passengers expected to walk through its doors between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. Deputy Director of Aviation Jim Derwin says these 10 days surrounding Thanksgiving are projected to have 20,000 passengers traveling through TLH. Those numbers are near pre-pandemic levels, almost equal to 2019. Derwin recommends arriving 90 minutes ahead of time for a flight, and in the wake of an incident in Atlanta when a gun discharged in the airport, the TSA is also reminding passengers that guns are not allowed in carry-on bags. In 2021 so far, 9 guns have been intercepted in Tallahassee. A North Central Florida K-9 and his handler won first place in a regional deputy competition. K-9 Ozzie and his handler deputy Christopher Dasher with the Alachua County Sheriff's Office took first place in the top detection dog competition at the 2021 South Georgia K-9 Workshop, winning in just 7 seconds. They also took home third place in the tactical competition. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at macklemoresystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunny skies and calm this afternoon with highs around 64. Winds out of the north, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 33 tonight. Sunny skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 67. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Wednesday, decreasing clouds by Thursday. Low 70s. Wednesday, mid 70s by Thursday. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 62.
This is Kyle, Service Manager from Barano Heating and Air. Schedule an appointment from your mobile device to learn about our Total Comfort Service Program. With guaranteed same-day service, 15% off necessary repairs, and $25 berry bucks to use towards air filters and other products. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air. Any day, anytime, anywhere. Online at baranoac.com.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Here's what you missed on the Greg Tish Show.
Charlie Crist, he's running for governor. To mention the governor, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. And we see it in presidential. We see it all the time. It's the new norm. We even saw it in local. That it should be. It's like, hey, I'm running for this local
seat.
Do
you understand? I heard a statistic that like half of our population reads at like an 8th grade level.
And what is the other 2/3 grade?
That means almost half does not. You're right.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Hire Billy Napier. It didn't take long, but a little over a week, to go from telling Dan to have a good day, you goofy bastard, to bringing in Billy Napier, who is, of course, of the Saban tree. Now, it is also, and should be duly noted, true that several Saban tree guys haven't made it. One of them coached at Florida. McElwain was a Saban guy, and that didn't work out. Didn't work out well at all. So that happens. I believe if you go down the list of people on that tree, there are several washouts or guys that didn't work out. Dooley's one of them. There are several that we could go on and on. Whole part whole. We can go a lot of guys. So
you enunciated those words.
I
That's
did.
not allowed.
I did. Anyhow, there are no guarantees. I think it's probably true if we go down the list of candidates over the years. And we say, like, did you like that guy? Did you think this guy was destined to fail or succeed? I've watched nationally as writers weigh in on this subject, and they're pretty much asked to do so. I remember it was absolutely dismissed as a viable option for Florida State to hire Jimbo Fisher and let alone to call it a great move. And I remember holding that over some people's head a little bit there in the industry, who called it an F in some cases. Now, of course, he quickly.
It was that Hayes.
Yeah. Well, and also the other Gator who said something is similar. Mandel, I think it was, also ripped the hire, and I remember thinking, "Oh, really? Okay, we'll see." As it turned out, obviously, Jimbo won a national championship and quickly turned Florida State around and got us back to where we wanted to be. There are other guys that we thought would be slam dunks that did not work out. I don't know how it's going to work at Texas, but that's a rough first year for Sark. That's a rough one. Now they did get a win at the end of the year there. That's helpful, but we'll see. As far as what Napier brings to the table, he did a good job, certainly, in recruiting. And I think that Florida felt a little spurned by their previous coach's efforts in the world of recruiting. So they were inclined to look at a guy that had an approach that was successful at a place like Louisiana and said, okay, plus, he's a guy that has a game plan. He's a guy that has stated openly in interview after interview that not every job was for him. He reportedly turned down other jobs, including in the SEC, that he wanted a certain structure in place from the president on down to the athletic director tied directly to the coach. They all had to be on the same page. They all had to see and have the same vision, right? They had to have the same way of viewing how it is you build an operation. So apparently Florida, which is a great job, met those criteria. And so you get this guy. The downside is he's not been a head coach in the Power Five, and we'll see how he handles it, because being a head coach in the Power Five creates an awful lot of other responsibilities beyond recruiting, beyond the X's and O's. There are a whole lot of other things you have to do that really probably would sap you of your life. That's why you're paid handsomely to do so, though. It's to go on that circuit, to kiss ass, to shake hands and kiss babies and all that other stuff.
The word you said there, sap you, I think is a great segue, because Quayshawn Sapp is a commit to Florida State, an offensive line commit, who was rumored to be visiting Florida and perhaps, muddying the waters of where he's actually going to go. And that was a development yesterday, and everybody's flipping out over it. And then he tweets out that he's shutting it down. He's a Nole. So whoever talked to him from our university said, no, you're not. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to sign here in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Why do I bring that up as you're talking about Billy Napier? The reason is I'm on edge. There's a lot of things going on in our region, in the sport in general, that some good things are going to happen to us and some bad things are going to happen to us because of these domino effects. You're going to get on a kid, maybe for an official visit here in a week or two, that you never would have seen come to Tallahassee without the coaching changes. But then you're going to be reading insider reports because Billy Napier or somebody else in the region hires a coordinator who has great ties to a prospect that we thought was locked down. Not trying to create fear. I'm just saying
that's the way it works.
That's the way this all works with coaching changes. So buckle your seatbelt, man. I'm just looking through all the news that's going on, and I'm trying to find stuff about recruits. Well, there's one Oklahoma receiver who put his name in the transfer portal. He's a 5-star player or 5-star recruit previously. People are thinking he might be following Lincoln. Maybe that's the trend that I've been talking about. Is a coach going to move from one institution to another and bring a lot of their players with them? Like in one fell swoop, you have a new coach and you have 4 or 5 skill position players or something along those lines.
So it creates huge opportunity, but it also, as you correctly note, creates a danger that you lose a guy because of weird ties. You find out that somehow, some way, Napier has ties to Lafayette, Alabama. And there's a guy, Woody's from there. And so it's like, oh, well, we could lose him.
Now, things are really good on that front right now. I'm not talking about specifically that player.
No.
You know how the boards go. But,
yeah.
But that's what I'm fully expecting. It's so bumpy because you have so many layers to this now. Coaching changes in the state, coaching changes in the region. NIL is a thing now. The transfer portal is a thing now. Roster overhaul. I mean, the NCAA football game of yesteryear had no idea.
No idea.
You had to go
through. Wouldn't it be fun to play that game again with this opportunity?
With the transfer portal?
You're like, my quarterback's transferring.
Well, they did have it. They had a transfer section in the offseason, but it would have to be like the algorithms, but the sheer numbers. Like, how do you build depth? That was one thing among the several terrible takes they had in the broadcast on Saturday that I agreed with.
Please don't talk about that.
Beyond that reference,
I won't.
Down
that road. That was.
But they were talking about How do you build depth in this era? It's really difficult to do so. Everybody's always looking for more playing time.
I will find it fascinating to see what is going to happen at the University of Miami. They won going away against Duke. Dude ends up winning 6 of 7 or whatever it is, and yet you get the sense that he won't be back. So who now do they hire? And also, I tend to be encouraged by a place like LSU having to make the change and still not having done so. Can you go pluck some of those linebackers? Can you go pluck some of those? And is there somebody from Oklahoma that you could grab who's now disgruntled, like in particular at linebacker? Because by the way,
how about Marvin Jones Jr.?
Yeah, Lincoln Riley just took his defensive coordinator with him to Southern Cal. There's no reason for you to go to Southern Cal, young man. Let's go. What are we doing? So, yeah, hold your breath. This will be a fun 2 weeks. Longer than that, but yeah.
Well, we're all loopholes. Yeah. Taking brain the head coach.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
For over 5 years now, McGowan's Hops and Grapes out in Bannerman Crossing has shown us not only what excellent service is, but what excellent food is. They've got their bacon flights. They have their shareables. They have their BLTs. Yes, I said BLT. I didn't stutter. They also have a tremendous draft beer selection and a fantastic wine selection that the owners pick out personally. McGowan's Hops and Grapes is the place to go. Great food and great people. Go visit them today out in Bannerman Crossing in Northeast Tallahassee.
Our partners at ISF know you want to do amazing things. You have big ideas and goals for the future. For over 40 years, ISF has focused on solving the future for state government through strategy, process, and technology. As a national management and IT consulting firm, ISF has the expertise to transform strategies, refine processes, and implement solutions to lead you in today's changing environment. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
When the forgotten poor are in need of healing, they wait for a ship unlike any other. Mercy Ships, a floating hospital staffed by volunteers, heroes of mercy who donate their time to save lives.
Every human has the right to have a place at the table of the human race.
If you could just see the smiles that you get when lives have been changed, then it would make it all worth it.
To learn more about Heroes of Mercy, go to mercyships.org.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, or even with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Affordable term life insurance is out there. Call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-481-1458, 800-481-1458, or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too.
This following message is brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and its radio station.
This is Max Mayfield, former director of the National Hurricane Center. This hurricane season, you need to update your family preparedness plan so it includes COVID-19 preparations. So when a storm threatens, be ready to prepare your home and have your family hurricane kit ready. It includes supplies for your pets and enough COVID-19 sanitizers, disinfectant wipes, and masks. Know your zone, know your home. For more information, go to floridastorms.org.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
A coach to go to USC with the high-profile nature of Lincoln Riley and what he'll do for them in regards to bringing in quarterbacks is unquestioned. He will immediately do that and likely keep some of the in-state talent there that's been cruising out of that state for a long time. In-state, that's helpful. I wonder what else we see. You know, we talk a lot of times about the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, what we're looking at in terms of these changes, the Big 10 with them doubling down and keeping coaches at Michigan State and Penn State. But Cristobal's name continues to come up, and that would be who I think Miami is making the greatest run at. Although if I'm Cristobal, why would I leave Oregon to go to Miami? That is not a situation that I would strongly desire, although then again, he has ties and loves the place, so maybe he would do that. Then again, he was a name that originally was going to be sort of dangled out there for the Southern Cal job. A lot of people thought that was not a good fit. What might be a good fit for a guy who can recruit is, I don't know, LSU. I would leave Oregon for LSU, and his is a name that could pop up here anytime now.
Well, there's domino effects to that for Florida State, too, because a couple of guys, namely a 5-star wide receiver, likes Oregon and likes us. We like our chances. We would like our chances even more if Cristobal went to LSU, unless he brings in a position coach and the 5-star likes more. Here we are, man.
Yeah.
This is finally, though, this is where it gets fun, because for Florida State, the early signing period was never a thing.
We never got an opportunity to take advantage of it. Never got a chance.
There was 1 year with Willie. We're kind of, sort of, but not really, because we lost so much that we knew there was no impact. There's momentum here.
Yeah.
The number one overall player in the country is, I mean, he said it 10 different ways. He told Michael on Friday night, Michael Langston, that he might play receiver here. He expects to play receiver plus defensive back. So you got real reasons to hang your hat and be hopeful for this program. But now we're experiencing the bumps in the road that come with the early signing period and a staff that's continuous, staff that's on the road.
Thankfully, in a position to take advantage. It's like being liquid.
Get more yeses.
It's like being liquid, Tom. There's this investment opportunity, but you got to have cash on hand. Well, that's us right now. We've got some cash on hand.
877 cash now.
Let's hope that, in fact, we have what we need. You see all this disarray, this convoluted mess around you. Sea of tranquility here at Florida State.
Right.
Everything is beautiful. Hunky-dory. We know where we're at. We know where we're headed.
Quite literally, when we fired Willie, we had a structured settlement, but we needed cash now. I mean, that's where we were.
Hour number 2 forthcoming. Ira Chappelle will join us in that hour of Warchant.com. Good times. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio. You want to do amazing things. You have big ideas and goals for the future. For over 40 years, ISF has focused on solving the future for state government through strategy, process, and technology. As a national management and IT consulting firm, ISF has the expertise to transform strategies, refine processes, and implement solutions to lead you in today's changing environment. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. President Biden says the United States is taking the necessary precautions against Omicron, the new COVID-19 variant. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president says it's inevitable that Omicron will make its way into the country.
Sooner or later, we're going to see cases of this new variant here in the United States.
But he emphasizes the new variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic.
We have the best vaccine in the world, the best medicines, the best scientists.
He urges all Americans to get fully vaccinated and says his administration is working with the vaccine manufacturers in case they need to modify vaccines and booster shots. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Meanwhile, UK Health Minister Edward Argar says he expects more new cases of the Omicron variant in the UK.
I would expect that to rise. We don't know by what speed or by what numbers. So therefore, what we're doing is trying to slow it down, but we're clear we can't stop it.
New cases of the variant have appeared as far apart as Hong Kong, Australia, and Portugal. Also at townhall.com, Seattle-based National Weather Service meteorologist Matthew Cullen says while the heavy rain has stopped in northwest Washington, there is flooding in some areas.
There's two main rivers at this point that are primarily still above flood stage, and that would be the Nooksack River up in Whatcom County, and then the Skagit River in Skagit County.
November has been wet for Northwest Washington. The National Weather Service says Bellingham recorded 11.64 inches at midnight Sunday. That's an all-time record for the month. Shares of Twitter surging on a report that co-founder Jack Dorsey will step down as the company's chief executive. Twitter's stock, which has consistently underperformed on the market, jumped more than 10% at the opening bell. The Dow up 320 points. The NASDAQ had 323. More of these stories at townhall.com.
Why are cash out refinances such a big deal right now? Uncle Ryan tries to teach me something.
I really feel like right now might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've been doing this for 18 years now, and I've just never seen a market where the rates are so low and values across the country have skyrocketed as much as they have. That combination, I remember one couple in particular, they were looking to do some home improvements at the house, but they were worried about their payments going up. Well, with rates being so low and them building up so much equity in the home over the last few years, we were able to get them the cash out for those home improvements, and their payments actually went down a little bit. Every single situation is different, but it does happen more often than you think. So it definitely does not hurt to call.
We are United Faith Mortgage.
United Faith Mortgage is a DBA of United Mortgage Corp. 25 Middle Park Road, Milton, New York. Licensed mortgage banker. For all licensing information, go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org. Corporate NMLS number 1330. Equal housing lender. Licensed in Alaska, Hawaii, Georgia, Massachusetts, North Dakota, South Dakota, or Utah.
Our partners at ISF know you want to do amazing things. You have big ideas and goals for the future. For over 40 years, ISF has focused on solving the future for state government through strategy, process, and technology. As a national management and IT consulting firm, ISF has the expertise to transform strategies, refine processes, and implement solutions to lead you in today's changing environment. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Minute by minute, hour by hour in the world of college football because so much change is occurring, from the time the clock struck zero in the game against Florida to where we are today coming on the show. Just rapid fire changes in the sport that in some way, an ancillary way in some cases, affect how Florida State moves forward. First, though, the game. Let's go back to that. This was painfully obvious, and I say that specifically to the moment that I realized, oh, Florida cares. And didn't take long to realize they did. That was always going to be a problem. We mentioned before that if that was true, it would be a problem because they got better players. In particular, they have better players at key positions like offensive and defensive line, in particular the ends on the defensive line and then their offensive line, which, oh, by the way, statistically speaking, had done a very good job of protecting the passer, as average as he very well may be, all year long. And it actually turned out to be the case that our very good front was nullified in a lot of ways in their efforts to get to the passer. Now, luckily, Emory Jones in that first half allowed for Florida State to stay in the game, especially while Florida State obviously was rendered impotent by the Jordan Travis injury to his shoulder. To his credit, he is a tough kid who handles those injuries about as well as you could hope, in the sense that he is willing to go back in that locker room and take that shot and get wrapped up and come back out and give it a go. It does continue to plague us, though, that is a frequent occurrence, because obviously Florida State is a one-trick pony. When he goes down, there is nobody else to put in the game at that position, the most important position on the field, that can move this offense in any way, shape, or form. And so it's a shame that McKenzie Milton's career ends that way, but it seemed like ill-fated to go to him, and it quickly proved to be so. Rodemaker came in. You had the one drive. I think he would have had an opportunity to be more successful, certainly than McKenzie Milton. I think they would have had to utilize his legs, believe it or not, in the second half had he had to play to open some other things up. Not something you could do with McKenzie Milton. But as it turns out, Jordan Travis does come back and sparks Florida State, and they go down and score, and we tie the game, and the game is tied at halftime, and you think to yourself, okay, got a fighting chance here despite all that's gone wrong in this half.
Get the ball.
Let's see what happens. And no, wasn't to be. And in fact, slowly as that game wore on, you could see the wear and tear of playing a more physical team, and a more physical team Florida was, and an intensely focused team, albeit son of a gun. They sure were. That's frustrating, but it happened. And so between that and yet again another special teams blunder, you lose this football game. It only seems fitting that pathetic onside kick attempt is the way that a season ends in which special teams was the bane of our existence. I mean, I watched that and thought,
do you think he actually hit it? I wonder if it was the wind from the leg.
I don't know. It's embarrassing. I've never seen anything that sorry in all my life. What the hell are we doing? just weird. It goes in line with our special teams problems this year. Okay, of course. And of course, we dropped the punt. And the game changed pretty quickly upon the dropping of said punt. I can't fathom that won't be something remedied before the start of next season, or as we start the next season, because the head coach cares deeply about it. He's done a good job of changing a lot of other things that he cares deeply about, including the way you go about your business on a day-to-day basis. So I would venture a guess that without question, that will get fixed. But boy, for as much as he could allow himself to vet the season that was, and what he liked and what he didn't like, because he didn't have much time. He was on a plane immediately, and it's off to the world of recruiting and visiting with people, potential transfer portal kids and the like. If he did, he'd take stock. He'd take inventory and say, we did this well. And oh my God, I'm never again going to be a part of a group that is this bad on special teams. Whatever has to change. And it's weird to me because that's something, and again, it's down the list of things because they got to get better personnel in here if they're going to have an appreciably better season next year. But I got to imagine I don't know what you do in that sense, Tom. Like if you're good at something, like for example, you're good at math, always have been. If all of a sudden you endeavored in a project in which math was important to your success and you helmed said project, and that group failed miserably, repeatedly at, the computations, you would really take that personally. It would begin to eat at you in a way in which you saw maybe 1 to 2 hours of sleep at night possible.
Yeah, it already is, and it's not even a real scenario.
Right.
I'm already bothered.
You're already bothered by that scenario, that
What'd you
what
do that
if,
for?
that hypothetical.
My heart rate's gone up a few beats.
Right.
Come on, man.
But that's the thing, right? Like if you're good at something and you know you're good at it, if it falls in that category of things that you excel in, everybody has strengths and weaknesses, identifying those and working on your weaknesses while bolstering your strengths. We're all trying to do that all the time in whatever field we're in. And so I can only imagine to know I'm really good at this, always have been, and we suck terribly at this again and again and again. And yet I rep it every day in practice.
Yeah, what could we have been better at this year? If we just took that time.
Oh my God.
And put it somewhere else. What could we have done more? I don't know.
So I'm just curious. I really am. I can't. I mean, that has to be a moment where you're fighting a nervous breakdown. Like what? It was slow motion watching Pokey go back to catch that ball. Like the ball. I was just telling you during the break. The ball's in the air. Everybody's watching it. Of course, Thunderfoot back here drops a 60 burger on us. It's still in the air, and I have enough time to say, why are you calling for a fair catch? There's nobody within 25 yards of you. Now, I'm saying all of that while the ball is still in the air because the hang time is robust. And I see him turn his back on the ball, and I go, oh, that's not good. Just move out of the way. Just move out of the way. I'll take an 80-yard punt, which is a kick to the cojones, rather than see you drop this ball, which you most assuredly are going to do if you attempt to catch it. And then the ball hits his hands. As I said, all of those things, and see the ball bouncing on the ground right back towards the – yes.
Yeah, we actually have audio of you watch. We snuck in a microphone into your home, and we have the audio.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know that. They bring the head comb.
That last part is as the ball is finally traveling to the earth. We couldn't run the rest of it because it would be an FCC violation.
I just exhaled. when it happened. I just went, it's the last game. It's the last game. I don't have to watch any more special teams blunders. Not by us, anyhow. For the rest of the season. Any other special teams blunders that will take place elsewhere.
Yeah, but you'll still be mad watching those.
No,
because
I celebrated Indianapolis and their special teams blunder yesterday. I absolutely said, there you go. Way to pull a Florida State.
The Bucs had one return by Dart and got us to the 30-yard line, and it took about 8 seconds because he went across the field.
Mm-hmm.
And my immediate reaction was, man, that is 8 seconds of real time for the officials who have their hands on the hanky. They're ready to call a holding or a block in the back.
Mm-hmm.
For 5 yards, we're going to go through 8 seconds of tempting these people who are like on strict diets, and you're waving a pizza in front of their nose, and saying, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking.
Yeah. Do what you want to do.
What benefit is there? There are certain circumstances in which, well, what the hell difference does it make? Let's try and just get a good return here because nothing else is going to work. But then there are other instances where you go, the 25 is a good place. I like the 25.
The 25 is a great place.
We had one return on the corner kick. It was almost like a coffin corner.
Mm-hmm.
Jimbo did this. He started doing this 10 years ago.
He was really good at it. Line, and destroy people.
Just because you catch the ball outside the numbers doesn't mean you can't go to the
right.
You do.
Correct. You can.
With a little fair catch action. I was more mad about that in a lot of ways than I was the punt because, how are you going to be prepared for the kid to go 65? The ghost of Sean Powell was strong in that building.
As soon as he kicked it, I was like, oh, really? You're going to Sean Powell us? You became the example of that you always give. Like, we had to be that guy. We had to yell GD at the top of our lungs.
It's a 10-7 ball game at that point.
Yeah. By the way, when we anyhow, I'm hyper-focused on one aspect. It's not why we lost the game. Certainly didn't help us overcome some other areas of deficiency.
How many wins above replacement would you attribute to special teams? -3?
I don't know. It's hard to calculate. It's unbelievable. But Florida State now sets about the process of securing this class and benefiting by having continuity and an established methodology in place for the early signing period that we have not had before. And if they are able to secure signatures on the line, which is dotted on that fateful day, then we will see the floor raised, at least in terms of talent and competition. It does not mean that it will immediately impact the results on the field. It will improve the chances of those results on the field, but most of the time, true freshmen do not come in and radically alter the next year's slate to 2 to 3 more wins. That's not how that works. It's the year after that and the year after that impact is felt. There are exceptions. Occasionally you get otherworldly, transcendent, preternaturally great athletes like Travis Hunter who come in and have a chance to play right away and immediately upgrade your chances of being a better offense, for example, if he's playing wide receiver, or a better defense if he's playing corner, or both if he's doing both, in which I certainly hope he is. But any of the linemen that you sign in this class are not going to be of great value next year. Thus, we turn our attention to the transfer portal, where you hit a home run with several guys last year. There it is. This last offseason saw the transfer portal provide fruitful changes up front And Florida State, certainly within the ACC especially, were able to kind of dominate in the run game, meaning stopping the run and really pushing teams to be more one-dimensional. This was a good Florida offensive line, and they kind of shut down that group up front and then played with a chip on their shoulder and an edge and a physicality that we were not able to match.
Yeah, quick side note on that. I think the officials clearly were letting them play in the trenches, and I don't know that that's necessarily a net negative for us, given what our offensive line was facing against the Florida defensive line, especially without a right guard that we would prefer to be out there, right? So I think that ended up being a net wash, maybe a little bit of an advantage to FSU. I do think, however, in a vacuum, we were going to wreak more havoc on Florida, but they were allowing some tugging, some grasping. I think they wanted the game to move along as much as possible until they didn't want the game to move along.
And then they got a little really confused, and they didn't. Yeah, the marker was misplaced, and all kinds of weird.
You know, in real time, because of the way that TV presented that,
You didn't catch it.
No, I saw the marker up top. I'm like, well, that's a first down. Why are they talking about this like it's fourth down?
Right.
And before going on the post-game show, you got to make sure you have that stuff square. Went back during a commercial break. Yeah, it was 1st and goal from the 9.5.
Mm-hmm.
How you get that wrong on the fly, and maybe they kick a field goal there from the 3. They punted from 4.5 foot with a giant quarterback that they could have called a sneak with.
Yeah.
So he might have kicked a field
after
goal.
he got an unfavorable spot.
Correct. So that was most certainly a first down.
Yeah, I thought it was too. I was like, oh, great spot, Mr. Official. My goodness.
And it was the far side official on the other side of the pile. It's just nonsense.
On the list of things to get fixed for college football and for Florida State in particular, we'll get too bogged down if we turn our attention to what they have got to find a way to do better in officiating. And one of which is to change an overriding mentality as to how you do your job and what you're looking for. It has to stop being an incessant witch hunt for penalties, but rather only finding egregious infractions.
Well, you got to make sure where the down is. We can do that.
We
right?
can make sure where
It's not insignificant.
All right.
It's not an insignificant
We've gotten
moment.
a lot better, by the way, with the cameras in the pylons, especially in the NFL, where you see, down the line. It's so fun to watch that when they do it. We got to get the laser. Got to get the laser so that old men who are woefully behind the play aren't deciding where the spot of the football is, to the tune of, oh, they gave him a first down on that. He was 2 yards short. Or, oh my God, they say he's short on that. He's 1.5 yards past the line. Like, now coaches are constantly stuck in limbo as to, do I call timeout so they can review this? Do I have to throw the flag? What are we doing? That spot is egregious. Like, that is a conversation that happens every week because we have old dudes trying to watch a game that is flying with elite athletes making plays simultaneous. I don't really judge them too much on that because it's a tough task. So let's take it out of their hands and get a laser on that ball so we know where the hell somebody went down.
See, the mic wasn't on. There you go.
There you go.
And I was coming with a Roger, and there was nothing in the ear. Roger Goodell said 10 years ago that they could do it if they wanted to. Well, okay, prove it.
Why would they not want to?
I say prove it.
Yeah. I don't believe you is what you could say, because if it were true, they would do it.
Which tells me that what tennis is doing has been a fraud for 20 years.
I don't think so. You want to believe that.
They just pick one. They're like, how about in out?
No,
how about the 1/1,000,000th of an inch in? Come on, let's go with that. Yeah. Oh, out.
I love it. I love it. So, in addition to all of that, we have a change in Oklahoma, a pending change at LSU, and the candidates are one by one getting picked off on the order of things to go elsewhere. Napier is the next coach at the University of Florida. We'll see how that works out. Certainly a buttoned-up guy that's done a good job of recruiting at Louisiana, but now he takes a huge step up in competition. That's always certainly an unknown. On the surface, seems to meet the criteria of a good hire, but we don't know. Miami, still figuring out what they're going to do. Oklahoma now has to find a head coach because out of nowhere, after losing Bedlam, Lincoln Riley decides, I'm going to hit the reset button. Let's take it to California. What do you think? Takes his defensive coordinator with him. USC, bolstered immediately, suddenly becomes a sexy place to play football again, perhaps. Certainly for quarterbacks it does, because Lincoln Riley has an impeccable reputation amongst quarterbacks. So a lot of those guys that have been fleeing the state of California to play elsewhere will now maybe stay in-state and play at USC.
Yeah, that worries me real quick because Micah Pittman from Oregon that
Yes.
we were interested in. His brother played at USC.
Right.
You know, they've got the West Coast ties due to the Pittman family.
Mhm.
And now did the Trojans again become, I mean, if I
Perhaps
was a
viable.
wide receiver, I'm, ooh,
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley's at
Oh,
USC. My brother
yeah.
went there. I liked it there. It was
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop making the case. But yeah, absolutely. I could see that. And then I think it gets interesting now. What does LSU do? Because again, Franklin re-signed, mega money there at Penn State. Mel Tucker locked in at Michigan State to the tune of $90 million. My goodness gracious. You know, there are names you hear bantied about. One of which, though, was Franklin. Now, Lane Kiffin's a name you're going to hear a lot, perhaps, for that job at LSU. Miami's kind of left in the lurch here right now in deciding who they're going to go after, because most of the biggest names have either been linked to another job or re-signed or gone elsewhere and already locked it in. I would think they'd make a real run at Mario Cristobal, who then has to make a decision. Does he say yes based on heartstrings? Because he's got an affinity for the place and he loves it and he wants to go help out a program that has really struggled for the last 20 years, and he loves them because it's not a better job than the Oregon job. Not anymore. But that doesn't always, I mean, when you've got money and you want to coach somewhere, maybe you go back. Maybe it happens. We'll see. At which point, what does Oregon do? And on it goes. It gets very, very interesting. I mean, there's even a scenario, and we just got done watching an incredible ending between Alabama and Auburn. And oh, by the way, when Bigsby ran out of bounds, did you not think, oh my God, you're going to lose this game? Because I did. The second it happened, I was like, you can't run out of bounds. I don't care if you're pulled. You have to fall straight to the ground. You cannot, under any set of circumstances, fall out of bounds. But anyhow, the point is, there is even a set of circumstances in which Harsin, who's in year one at Auburn, leaves there to take a Pac-12 job that he's wanted, or an elite level job out of the SEC, because folks at Auburn weren't in love with that hire to begin with. So it could be one and done for that guy, who was extremely well thought of while at Boise State, obviously. It's just, this is fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Well, I know that. They bring the income.
It's fun. It's cool to watch. It's kind of cool to sit back and know that for once we're in a position where we're not having to worry about where we're going on the sidelines. We listen, Norvell's back, most of the staff, if not all, back. Continuity's in place. Seize the opportunity in recruiting.
But then also the transfer portal list is only going to grow over the next week.
Oh, yeah.
I've been watching the news wires. I feel like this is what we need to do now between today and the holidays, is continually look at the wire, see different reports and what's going on. I saw, Dalvin Cook, the labrum injury. Christian McCaffrey's done for the season. Jahmyr Gibbs at Georgia Tech entered his name into the transfer portal. That's a nice player. You're going to be seeing a lot of players at Oklahoma, at LSU.
Yes.
Maybe Miami. Maybe Miami's going to put a quarterback on the market. You never know.
Well,
Brett Lashley's gone.
Yeah, and I tell you what, look most heavily in that transfer portal for offensive linemen that can start immediately. Florida State is said to be in on two possibilities, one of them being a Wisconsin offensive lineman. Let's see if that comes to pass. Look in particular at linebacker. You're in desperate need of upgrading the room at linebacker, to say the least. And then, of course, as we've reiterated time and again, you're going to lose an awful lot of what made you competitive this season up front on the defensive line. And you're going to have to find not just replacements, but really guys that can help you sustain some level of excellence, because you really were very, very good for the most part, week in and week out with the front four. And if you lose all of those guys, it's awfully tough to see Florida State turning the corner and having the kind of season that this season's cultural shift, competitive shift portends of. So that's why you get nervous that you'll remain stagnant despite improvements. And, it's hard. It's like when you're going through these sort of labor pains of, birthing something better than what you are, it's tough to be patient, because it's agonizing. Quite frankly, it's agonizing. And watching games in which you're physically outmatched, it's impossible. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Wooden Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Wooden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at wittenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Hi, I'm Jeff, founder of Which Superior Sandwiches, and I'm here to tell you about our signature witch, the Wicked. Why call it the Wicked? Some say it's wicked tasty, some say it's wicked large. One thing's for sure, with oven-roasted turkey, ham, pepperoni, roast beef, and bacon, as well as your choice of 3 cheeses, it definitely takes you from wicked hungry to wicked happy in just a few wicked good bites. Only at Which Superior Sandwiches.
On Wednesday, the Wicked is just $5. 5 meats, 3 cheeses, $5.
While other gun stores come and go, Red Hills Arms remains Tallahassee's go-to local gun store for all your firearms needs. At Red Hills Arms, they're right on target. Stop by today and get welcomed in like family.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
At Epps Decorating Center, we're your locally owned Benjamin Moore retailer. We're your store for quality with brilliant and durable paints in a variety of sheens and thousands of colors. We're your store for service with one-on-one advice for contractors and homeowners. We're your local experts, and we're here to help with all your painting projects. Benjamin Moore, available at Epps Decorating Center with 2 locations in Tallahassee. Find a store near you and visit EppsDecorating.com. That's EppsDecorating.com.
This is an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee. A few months ago, I asked you to contact your legislators to help stop the skyrocketing property insurance rates in Florida. Other states average 2 lawsuits per day on property insurance claims. Florida has 384 per day. The property owners of Florida are being taken advantage of, but it is not by the insurance companies. The companies are paying out 10 times the cost of a claim or more that would have been paid anyway. People are canvassing neighborhoods, knocking on doors, suggesting that the property owner may have some damage. The property owner innocently signs something that turns all control of any claim settlement to an attorney that becomes the person designated to get the claim check and who controls the disbursement of the claim payment. If we want these rates to go down, we must reach out to our legislators and let them know how unaffordable home insurance has become and that we want them to support reform that will fix the issues. This has been an insurance market alert from Barbara at Faircloth Insurance in Tallahassee.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
The headline there, if you head on over to warchant.com, transfer watch, FSU pushing for pair of offensive line transfers. Yes, please. You can certainly read Ira's 3-2-1, lack of composure, lost opportunity, and looking to the future. And, I think getting kind of a refresher course with Michael Langston on who's, where, what, projecting to be, etc., all that good stuff, because now we're talking about improving the roster. Without further ado, hello, Ira. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, Jeff. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. We're busy in a good way, though. I'm really excited. Enjoyed the smash last night with you, as always, buddy. I thought it was fun. And, towards the end there, we were kind of joking around about being in constant contact with Warchant's own Michael Langston, wanting to know where these kids are headed and perhaps where their head's at. That's going to be us over the next couple of weeks, right? Every second of every day, it's less about what just transpired this season and more about what's possible through the transfer portal and recruiting.
Oh, there's no doubt. And caught you guys talking about it in the last segment, I think, or maybe the one before that, about, there's just so many moving pieces now with college football, the way things have changed. And we're seeing it right now with Lincoln Riley in Southern Cal, where all of these kids are decommitting from Oklahoma and suddenly interested in Southern Cal. And then that's not going to be just only recruits. I mean, that's going to be players who are already at a program that are going to look to follow coaches across the country. And so that's going to create opportunities. It's also going to create challenges as you kind of have this, the domino effect of program to program, that all these, programs are going to be affected by these changing rosters. I think this offseason is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen. By far. And,
I rarely necessarily specifically say, hey, go follow this group on social media. But if you go to NCAA Transfer Portal at Rivals Portal on Twitter, have fun with that, everybody. I mean, it's a name after the next. And every time one of those names comes up, like Jahmyr Gibbs, for example, you go, ooh, Florida State could use him. You find yourself doing this with a lot of players. And if you don't know a certain player, you find yourself going to watch that video because it could be a player that, for example, maybe you didn't hear about or played in a region of the country in which you didn't see their games, and now you look and go, oh, he's a linebacker. I'd like him. We could use a linebacker. So a lot of fans doing a lot of film viewing and a lot of name watching and research right now because of that transfer portal. But I do think, Ira, it's fun for you and me and everybody else who covers Florida State and or just roots for Florida State to fall back and realize for the first time in a long time that perhaps they're in an advantageous position. They really haven't been since the early signing period became a thing, and now they are.
Well, and also, I think that, it's also interesting to see how these coaches play it. I think if you look back to last year, I thought Mike Norvell was pretty aggressive when jumping on players. I think they wanted to be, I think Jermaine Johnson talked about it. Keir Thomas talked about it. McKenzie Milton talked about it. Andrew Parchment. When those guys went in the portal, Florida State was already ready to pounce, and it helped them in that regard. But it also can hurt you a little bit if you're too aggressive because you don't know what else is coming out and what else is going to become available. And you don't want to fill up too early. So that part of it is going to be fascinating to see how they juggle that. Plus, on top of the exemption where they're going to be able to have latitude with the rosters this year because of COVID last year. And then also, balancing with this high school class, which could be really good. Like last year, I thought this decision was pretty easy for Mike Norvell when it came to leaning heavily on the transfer portal and not as much on the high schools, because I don't know how well they could have done with high school players because of that COVID year in recruiting. This year is different. I mean, they may have some tougher decisions about how many high school guys to take versus how many portal guys to take. And, and then when to pull the trigger. Do you jump on a guy as soon as you can, or do you wait to see what else is available?
Tom and I were talking in that first hour how difficult a task it really is, because you're on the road right now, meeting with people, trying to, lock down guys that you've already been recruiting, but also other new names. And every 5 minutes, there's another name in the portal. Like, do you have any idea of how that structure looks, Ira, behind the scenes? Who's monitoring this, and what is the process Florida State goes through for deciding whether or not to reach out?
Well, I think that there's, my guess is that, and this isn't hard and fast. I don't have this locked down as far as reporting it, but I think that they have a pretty good feel through connections throughout the course of the season of guys that might be coming available. One of the things that in the NFL, I was talking to one of the NFL scouts a couple weeks ago about this at one of the games that I happened to be sitting next to him, and they were talking about it at their team, and all NFL teams, they have two different scouting departments. They have the scouting department for college kids. They also have the current NFL scouting department, which is to look at free agents who are going to be coming available. And I think what college programs are doing now is they're keeping feelers out through their fellow coaches that they know in the business, and then also just their own research. Which guys that you might have expected to have bigger careers so far, who might be looking, who might be so they can do some research, who might be coming available, and they all talk. I mean, all these coaches talk amongst themselves. If you coach a kid, for example, Florida State has a guy on their team that doesn't fit right now because maybe they don't have, there's somebody else starting ahead of them who's better, or it's just not working out, or they're homesick. A lot of times that coach might reach out to a coach at another school and say, hey, that they're friends with, and say, hey, this kid, I have a feeling he may get in the portal. You guys might be interested, to help the kid out and to help their buddy out. So I think there's all kinds of avenues to those discussions. I don't think when a name shows up in the portal, I doubt Florida State's coaches or many coaches are surprised about it. I think they probably have an idea that's going to be coming.
Yeah, I wonder, now that we've entered into this era where kids have greater freedom to come and go and leave institutions and, kind of follow the path that coaches have taken for so many years, just leaving programs in the lurch or whatever it might be. Do you think it's more likely than ever before that you would see, even within the state? So, for example, a kid like Gerald Mincy at Florida, he's in the transfer portal. He's 6'5", 320 pounds. He played in 10 games. Would Florida State go after a kid that played at Miami or Florida and vice versa?
Oh, I think 100%.
Yeah, me too.
Again, assuming that there's, that they've done their due diligence and all that. But yeah, I definitely think so. And I think, just like coaches, I mean, it's going down the same path as coaches. I mean, if you think back to, there was a time people were probably aghast that Mickey Andrews, who coached at Florida, came to coach at Florida State. It used to be kind of frowned upon. You'd see coaches go from rival to rival, but now we see it all the time. Shoot, this season, Manny Diaz is an FSU grad, was coaching on their team. Garen Justice was their offensive line coach. He was a GA at Florida State. Randy Shannon's on the Florida State sidelines, and I think the player side is just following that path. It wouldn't surprise me. Again, they used to be able to block all that. They used to be able to, schools would block kids from going to rivals or going to in-state schools or going to conference schools. But those days are over. So, yeah, I think you're going to see more of that.
Final thing, Ira, before I let you go, and I know folks can go and read the 321 on warchant.com. You've had some time to reflect and ruminate a little bit about what happened at the end of the year with that final game and disappointing ending to an otherwise, I think, progress-laden season. Not the record you'd want, but I think we saw the kind of forward strides we were hoping to in terms of the shift in culture and the fight on the field, et cetera. Anything else that has occurred to you in the aftermath of this loss that you want to share with us here about, I guess, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will?
Yeah, I just think I'm sure Mike Norvell is going to be kicking himself for that game for a long time because, the thing he really prides himself in is really getting the kids to play smart, being composed and controlling their emotions and all that. And I don't know if he got caught up in the rivalry or if he was trying to get them to fight so hard that, to win that game that, he didn't maybe dial it back maybe where he could have. But Florida State lost that game. Obviously Florida's more talented, but I think Florida State lost that game. Where they could have won that game was being the smarter team, being the more focused team, and getting a lead and then letting Florida self-destruct. And they didn't do that. And I'm sure Mike Norvell is going to be kicking himself for that. But overall, no, I think things are definitely trending in the right direction. The one thing that I kind of laugh at is so many people, at least on social media and some fans I've talked to, are caught up on this idea that Florida State lost to an interim coach. And one of the things I'd say is, look, man, Jimbo Fisher, who everybody pines away for, a lot of fans in this fan base pine away for, lost to a lame duck coach who's fired over a month ago. So, you can't just cherry pick circumstances and say, okay, that's a bad sign. This is, I think there are way more positive signs about what this coaching staff did over the last 2 months. You would have loved to have won that game, but I still think things are going in the right direction.
Always appreciate it, my brother. Be well. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yep. Yeah, no, cherry pick is the apt descriptor there. That happens a lot for circumstance. It happened last night when we were doing the Sunday Smash. I saw certain complaints that I'm like, well, yeah, you can say that now, but you didn't say that a year ago when this happened. And so that's where we're at when you're disgruntled and frustrated. And certainly there are reasons. There are aspects of what happened this year that need to improve, some things that you don't like that need to get better, most of which we've pointed to on special teams. I do think Tom makes a good point on Twitter here to me and Ira last night. He wrote, I'm catching up on the Sunday Smash just to add special teams conversation to this special teams conversation. It's largely a reflection on talent, particularly depth of talent. In my opinion, special teams magnifies a team's lack of talent more than any other segment. I tend to agree on that, by the way. Do you recall, of course, we had devastatingly effective special teams when we were a dominant program. The two seem to go hand in hand because you have a lot of your starters, in some cases, on special teams, blowing up return teams, making plays, electrifying plays in the return game, those kinds of things. If you have speed and dynamicism, you can see that. We just haven't had that.
Yeah, and if it wasn't a starter in those days, it was a 5-star freshman.
It was somebody who was
built
going
different.
to be, yeah.
It was Telvin Smith as a true freshman.
Right,
it was Carlos Williams that was blowing up the wedge.
Carlos Williams would go down and do things that were frightening. And I remember thinking to myself, what is your worst fear? Having been a guy that played on special teams, it would have been seeing Carlos Williams coming at me.
He's not slowing down
at full speed.
Yeah, he's not slowing down for that contact.
At that size. That's
I
just
love
wrong.
watching us cover kicks for that reason.
Oh, it was wrong. Like somebody's gonna get hurt.
Like the fans go, whoa, when the ball's kicked off. We're going, whoa, when Carlos is approaching the wedge at the 20.
Well, and I also remember thinking, like, against the lesser teams, like Idaho, like, somebody's gonna get killed out here. Like, don't call for a fair catch, please. You're going to get hurt. Do not return this. I mean, every time I watched us back then, you would think about each individual collision favoring Florida State time and again. So it's like when Nigel Bradham's on special teams, you got a problem.
Hey, man, I had that nightmare. It was on his pro day. I set my backpack down in the wrong area. Went to get my backpack. I looked up. He's coming at me full speed because he's running a shuttle drill. Yeah, man. That reminds you that there are very special people on this earth, genetically speaking, who are meant to be playing a sport like that.
Yeah. Gladiatorial sports.
Oh, man.
Their cup of tea. Yeah. Also, it reminds you currently this year, that's why I think it was a good point from Tom there on Twitter, that you didn't feel that way with us this year on special teams, ever. You always thought the other team had the advantage.
Yeah, even UMass, it was either a stalemate or they won it.
Yeah,
because we both fumbled. We both fumbled on kick returns.
It was embarrassing. Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
Florida A&M University mourns the loss of Dr. Walter L. Smith, the university's 7th president. Dr. Smith died in Tampa on Thursday. He was 86 years old. President Larry Robinson, PhD, said in a statement, Dr. Smith left an indelible mark as the university's leader from 1977 to 1985, developing new academic programs and steering FAMU in the right direction. We're thankful for his leadership and celebrate his legacy and join the Smith family, friends, and rivalers around the world in celebrating a life dedicated to service and one well lived. Funeral arrangements have not been finalized. As millions of Floridians fueled up for holiday travels, their wallets took a hit. The average gas price per gallon in Florida was $3.35. That's the highest it's been since 2014. In the state of Florida, it costs about $50 on average to fill a 15-gallon tank. Prices in the state have jumped more than 10 cents in the past week, and AAA predicts prices will only climb higher. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by McLemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at McLemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Sunny skies and calm this afternoon with highs around 64. Winds out of the north, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows around 33 tonight. Sunny skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 67. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. Wednesday, decreasing clouds by Thursday. Low 70s. Wednesday, mid 70s by Thursday. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 62.
Did you know metal roofs' survivability far exceeds that of traditional shingle roofs? It's time to consider a metal roof from Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee. We provide the best quality, least expensive material and accessories in the area, as well as material pickup and delivery. Our painted panels qualify for the City of Tallahassee's low-interest Energy Star loan program also. And don't forget about our veteran and law enforcement discount. Give Metal Roofing Sales a call today at 536-9123, 536-9123.
If you weren't the owner of Gordo's and all those wonderful restaurants, Eddie, what would you be doing?
You know, I think I'd want to be I don't know what I'd want to be, a boat captain or a cowboy.
You know how to use a lasso?
No.
You'd have to do that if you were a cowboy.
Yeah, but I've never even been on a horse. It's not my place to be on a horse.
I agree. And the horse thanks you. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
It's Congressman Michael Waltz on the Greg Tish Show.
Good morning, Congressman. How are you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Again, just what you have to go through day in and day out. I don't know how you have hair left, or like Matty Rowe, just completely bald.
Hey.
Sorry.
And the irony of it all, the progressives are the tail wagging the dog. This whole bipartisan White House is a joke. We're just watching them eat their own.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Only given up a grand total of 5 touchdowns to opposing running backs on the season.
I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah, they give up 4 to Leonard Fournette. That is doing some things. And then think about Ronald Jones.
Yeah. One of Leonard's was a catch, so it's 4 rushing touchdowns. But the running backs in general, all 5.
Yeah,
crazy.
So certainly not something you saw coming based on those statistics. As for the Bucs, I think obviously sort of an up and down affair, and they were helped out a little bit by some questionable decisions from Indianapolis, also a muff punt. But that said, that's a big comeback on the road. And the NFL, which we barely glazed or haven't touched on even today, but will for a moment here, is infinitely fascinating again. It was last year and it is again this year. Green Bay is legit, obviously, and that was a big win for them. And the Rams have to, again, look inward as that team has had a rough stretch. Meanwhile, obviously, you look around at the other teams vying for the top position in their conferences, because remember, only one team gets that all-important bye as the 1 seed now. And when I look at the standings, it feels like a bit of a free-for-all, right? Like in the NFC, you wouldn't count the Cowboys out, although you're beginning to wonder.
It's a toughie for them. What just happened?
Yeah. Also, though, they didn't have 2 of their top tier receivers, so it will be interesting to see what happens with them when that changes. Packers are clearly the class of the NFC North, and nobody else in that division really rivals that. Minnesota with a tough loss there, now 5-6. We keep talking about how good Minnesota can be, but they're 5-6. Some point, you're gonna have to win a bunch of games here. Bucs are 8-3. Nobody in the South is going to rival them. And then meanwhile, there is the 9-2 Arizona Cardinals with the Rams 2 games back, and they've lost 3 straight games. And you have a surging 49ers team that's won 3 straight games at 6-5. Seattle not in contention. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, what's interesting is you would think, given how much competition there is that you're talking about, you're looking at all the playoff pictures, that this weekend's slate, the upcoming weekend, would be loaded. It's not. There are a few good games, a few. I would qualify Chargers-Bengals as a very interesting game because, again, it's not only for the division, it's for a place in the wild card. But Monday Night Football, not tonight, but next week, for once, Monday Night Football has a really good game. It's the Patriots at the Bills.
Well, here we go.
AFC East leading New England Patriots.
Who have won 6 straight games after starting 2-4, and their plus-minus difference is plus 146. They've got a rookie of the year playing quarterback and a nasty defense and a team that right now looks like, would you argue, I guess I'll just ask, are New England the best team in the AFC? Are they better than Kansas City? Are they better than Baltimore, Cincinnati? Are they better than, we'll see, Buffalo, obviously. this is...
The argument's getting really interesting. I think Kansas City has to be in the discussion because that offense at some point is going to go off. And if the defense stays where it is, then it's Kansas City.
Yeah, they've won 4 straight, and their defense has been the reason for that. They've been the catalyst for that. That strikes me as interesting. You're right. Maybe the offense comes around. It has been 11 games.
But I think that argument, okay, this time next Tuesday, when we're that's Seminole Headlines. When we're on the air next Wednesday and we're reacting to what happened over the weekend and maybe a little bit more NFL, that Monday night game between New England and the Bills is going to go a long way into answering your question about who is the class of the AFC. That's a critical game.
Side note on this, it was a unique day in the AFC. The entire AFC South lost. Every team lost. The entire AFC East won. Every team won. That's just weird. Doesn't usually happen. They usually get a mixture. But, the Patriots have won 6 straight. The Bills got off the schneid and won a game. The Dolphins quietly have won 4 straight, and they destroyed Carolina, who had to bench sorry-ass Cam Newton, which I kind of first guessed. And the Jets came.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, he's terrible. I don't – why? This is so weird. Like, you got to believe that you're in that meeting, you're having that conversation. How is – like, if you're Matt Rule, you don't go, no, thanks. I don't think we need to do this.
Yeah, I guess Joe Brady really doesn't want the LSU job, or they really don't want him, right? Because what is tying him to Carolina right now? I mean, McCaffrey got put on IR today, so he's done for the year. That season is lost.
Well, let me ask you
the
this.
Darnold experiment didn't work. Well, what are you doing?
Well, okay, I'll ask you this question then while we're kicking it around because it's fun. If I'm LSU, wouldn't I rather hire Matt Rule than Joe Brady? Wouldn't I just go after him?
You have to know what Joe Brady was like behind the scenes and how much he learned from Ed O or did not learn. Maybe he's doing the opposite, capable of doing the opposite. I would probably want the guy who had been there and had taken our offense to a place that's never gone and no other offense has ever gone.
Perhaps, but I would probably rather go with a guy who's been a head coach in college, succeeded wildly and recruited well. And, Joe Brady was perhaps very much responsible for a record-setting offense, no doubt, because it certainly wasn't Ed O. That said, he's never had to recruit. He's never been a head coach. He's never sat in a living room to do that. He's never,
Yeah, you could bring them both. Who knows? You could bring them both.
Hey, you two want to roll on at Carolina and come back into the college game?
Right. But Rule has the experience with Sean Payton, Matt Rule, and a winning LSU program as well. So he knows what it takes on several different levels, and he's learned from a couple of really high-level coaches. I'm not going to call Ed O that. I'm going to call Matt Rule a high-level coach, and certainly I think we all agree that Sean Payton is a high-level coach.
Yeah. No, I just find it fascinating. By the way, kudos to the Dolphins, who have, again, quietly won 4 straight games, and they dominated this game from pretty much start to finish. And I knew I liked Flores. I was beginning to wonder, but there they sit, 5-7. They're fighting.
Yeah, if you're 5-7 right now, you're not out of it in either conference. That's the way the NFL is designed. But it looked like this year was going to be a lot of halves, and then, they're going to be table scraps for everybody else. But it looks like there's going to be some mediocre teams that get into the wild cards.
We can do some declaring, though, beyond just declaring the Jets out of it or, obviously the Giants and teams like that out of it. It is kind of interesting to say, like, who on the cusp, who's there that mathematically is certainly not out of it, but you could say with great degree of certainty they're not going to the playoffs. I'll give you a couple right now. In the AFC North, the Browns and the Steelers are not going to the playoffs. Steelers are terrible. Watching them play with Ben is a billion years old. It just looks bad. It's just not a good look. And they don't have a good backup, so they're not going. I would say that I guess the entirety of the AFC West is in contention. I'm beginning to think the Chargers are not who we thought they were.
Yeah, Broncos Chiefs is at least interesting if Kansas City's not going to bother to score, right? That's next Sunday night's game.
That entire division is over 500. It's just that is crazy. 7-4, 6-5, 6-5, 6-5. They're all within a game of first place. The entire division. It's a weird division. I don't believe in any of them except the Chiefs.
Really?
I don't think that Chargers team, man. They are a minus team defensively. It's weird that that's the case, and I don't know what they're doing with these turnovers, but they're weird to watch, man. I'm not in love with that team the way I was at the start of the season. When you think about it, they're 6-5, and they started what, like 3-1, 4-1, whatever it was. I mean, something's not right. Something's not right. This is fun. Football's crazy. Both levels. We still should I stay on or should we just? Yeah, we got to take that break. Jeff Cameron Show. Come back. Wrap it up momentarily.
Yes, Highway 27 Grill and Barbecue has amazing sandwiches and slow smoked beef, chicken, and pork. But don't forget the sides, man. Have you tried Kenny's mac and cheese? Make a note. Kenny's cheesy, creamy, gooey mac and cheese will change your life. And that's just one side. Make the trip 1 mile north of Havana to Highway 27 Grill and Barbecue. Get your fill at the grill.
Let me tell you what T-Spark stands for. It stands for strength, commitment, teamwork, and heart. We don't ever quit until we've got nothing left to give. Our team is unstoppable. Want a guaranteed win? Call T-Spark Enterprises for your next roofing or construction project. We conquer all peaks. TSparkConstruction.com. License number CCC 1331204.
There was a time when a person's word was enough, a time when a handshake meant something and integrity really mattered. Farm Bureau Insurance continues to live by these principles. That's our pledge, and it hasn't changed since the day we got started. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM. That's 671-FARM. From Hurricane Kate to Hurricane Michael, Tallahassee has been through a lot, and we've been right here with you because helping you is what we do best.
Ready for holiday spirits? For 15 years, Keys to Exceptional Youth Success has provided summer and post-secondary educational opportunities to students with disabilities. Keys helps provide a brighter future to many students in the Big Bend by assisting students further their educational and employability skills. This year, Keys is asking you to join in holiday spirits by purchasing raffle tickets to 3 incredible packages. For all of the festive details, go to keysbigbend.org. Tickets are just $25 each. Must be 21 or older to enter. No purchase necessary to win. Donors include Keys board members, Total Bathroom Solutions, and Deep Brewing. You can also enter the raffle at the Grinchmas Celebration on Saturday, December 11th at Bannerman Crossing beginning at 6 p.m. The winning tickets will be pulled at 7:30 p.m. Grinchmas Celebration sponsors include Oyster City Brewing, McGowan's Hops and Grapes, Bannerman Crossing, and Christy Irwin Stylist. Join us for karaoke and fun in support of Keys. Visit Keys Big Bend on Facebook for event details. 'Tis the season to grow your heart. 3 sizes or more.
Live in living color and totally free. Subscribe to Warchant TV on YouTube, the digital home of Warchant.com. From the practice field to pregame and the phone calls afterwards, Warchant's YouTube channel is home to live programming like Seminole Headlines, Wake Up Warchant, The Jeff Cameron Show, as well as Trench Talk, a live Q&A with Noles offensive lineman Devontae Love-Taylor. Just search Warchant on YouTube and click or tap the subscribe button. That's it. It's totally free. Warchant TV on YouTube. Just another reason we're the ultimate Seminole sports source.
Tonight, we'll know in about 47 seconds.
To an open wing. It's picked up by Dowdy. An empty net. He scores.
Hot damn. Big Daddy's done it again. Red Russians all around, Teddy. All right, Big Daddy. Never Gets Old, brought to you by North Florida Payroll Services, locally owned for nearly 15 years, offering payroll HR services, including full online applicant onboarding and integration into payroll. Save your company money and headaches today. Head to northfloridapayroll.com. Pretty simple one for me tonight, Tom. I don't know if you got a game, but I'll tell you one. Monday Night Football. Washington's going to win straight up. And when I got it, I caught them catching a point, half point actually. It's now up to a full point. Washington wins outright. Take them at plus 100 on the money line.
The Fighting Heineke's.
Yeah, they'll get it done tonight. That Seattle team is mailing it in, baby.
I got an easy one, a simple one. The Seattle Kraken are on the road in Buffalo. Buffalo's a home dog. They're about the same. Seattle has to travel. They've been in the East Coast, Florida, all over the damn place. Buffalo, plus 120, money line. Take the Sabres to win outright.
Got 2 of them for you right there. We'll see if we're having some tasty beverages tomorrow on the show when we recap. Be good. Good job out of you, Tom. Good job, Director Matthew. Thanks so much for listening. Busy show today. Fun show to do. Talk to you with Seminole Headlines tomorrow and the JCS on Wednesday. Hang in, everybody.